So, to the future me editing this, we'll begin after a 10-second pause. Just kidding, it's more like 5.5.
Well, to future you
You
editing this, we're just beginning when we begin. And I think it's up to you to actually choose a point where you fade in the audio.
I think I'll just fade it into on we'll just begin when we begin. Alrighty then. So we'll just say that this is the start. This is the start of the first ever Tangents Podcast with none other than
Yeah.
one more time.
Keep going.
Okay. I was about to say none other than Aaron and Randy. I'm Aaron.
I'm Randy, and it's nice to meet all you fine, lovely people that I can't see, whether
All 3.5
real
of
or
you in the comment
otherwise.
section.
Wait, what is their half doing?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the measurements. It's a fine system that operates on many minutia to coalesce to form an accurate calculation system that no one needs to think too hard about. 8.5 out of 10 doctors agree. It's proven.
8.5 out of 10 doctors.
I'm sorry, is that
What
not
is
reassuring
this?
enough? Should we go 8 3/4? 8 9/10?
What?
8
What is this?
9/17?
Hey, wait a sec. What is this? Is this a Colgate commercial?
No, this is Tangents, the podcast.
Well, it just might be with how retarded that sounded.
Alright then. So, funnily enough, I actually thought of something to talk about earlier, and something that I wanted to ask you about regardless of whether or not we talked about it on the podcast. But what do you think makes a truly good sequel? Like, what really needs to be there for something to be considered a good sequel or even recognizable in any capacity?
Well, I think that at the end, what really matters is a reason to continue the series.
Hmm.
And it has to be twofold. It has to be within the storyline, and it has to be within the will. Let me just put that in the background. Within the will of the people creating it. Otherwise, you just have a piece of shit series that flops.
Yeah, I gotcha. Because, like, I was rewatching, like, Portal 2, and I think Portal 2 represents a really good sequel. You know, like, it and Portal 1 are both really good, and there's, like, I think that it sort of, like, checks off most of the boxes that you kind of presented there. Like, it, I think, it was the will of the creators to continue it. They're,
Why we don't have anything fucking 3 from Valve, right? Because
oh
every
yeah.
time they make a series and they get to 2, they're just like, hey, you know what? I don't really feel like it anymore. They move
Yeah,
on to
well,
something else. And I don't even
actually,
hate them for it.
hmm surprisingly enough, apparently, Half-Life Alyx that released, like, last month or something?
Oh, yeah? Half-Life
Apparently,
Alyx?
it's an in-between story between Half-Life's 1 and 2 that bridges some stuff, but apparently it just changes some stuff that is supposed to happen in Half-Life 2, but it also sets up for Half-Life 3 of all things.
Nice.
And that's
Well,
very, like, it's like, wow, finally they hired someone at Valve who can count to 3. Very nice.
well, you never know, actually. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice to think that there could be a Half-Life 3, but
Well, I
eh.
mean, as far as I could tell, like, the video I was watching on it, and I'll need to watch a proper playthrough of it to see, if that claim is justified, but the video I was watching on it said that, like, apparently, like, the ending is almost basically saying Half-Life 3 is coming, but it would likely be set, or it would be released for VR. And I think that, like, in and of itself is pretty neat that there are basically AAA games being worked on for VR. VR is progressing past just being an experience. A glorified tech demo that you can use to sell
A
head
game that works
TVs.
perfectly without it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not necessarily that a game works perfectly without it, but that you know it
They're
VR is the
starting to
shiny
realize
like
it.
thing that's great about it.
Yeah,
Cuz like most VR games they have that added like bonus of being set or like being made for something that is completely foreign territory. They have the opportunity to do something great with that technology, but and make a good game that isn't just a good game because it's in VR. You know, that you're able
right.
to grab stuff, that you're able to beat the absolute and total, beat someone senseless with a frying pan in VR.
Yeah,
That's like the selling point.
yeah. I think that a lot of games like they don't miss that. Every single game that I've ever played, you get to beat the bones out of someone. But
Yeah.
being able to pick up random objects in the environment and D&D frying pan someone, that that's just beautiful. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
why lots of people like VR. And I mean, Beat Saber, it's the same damn thing, except you're beating the bones out of stuff to the beat.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think that, like, what draws me to VR is just the potential it has. Because
Of course.
it offers a different type of, like, it offers a different type of creative outlet. You're able to be more creative, but to a different capacity. You're
Yes,
able
it's
to stretch the limits of interactivity with an environment. And it seems like Alex, like, implants so much stuff that just makes the environment feel fresh. Like in the what I've seen of the playthrough that I'm watching through, it's just it's overloaded with things that you can pick up and do stuff with, and it doesn't feel half baked. You know what I mean?
I see. And I mean, the thing is, VR, it's a different dimension because
Mm-hmm.
most games are like you are trying so hard to put the player inside the character's shoes that they're playing in lots of AAA titles that aren't Shadow of the Tomb Raider. But um, and what VR does is it just says screw that, focus on everything else because that's already done.
Yeah.
And you stop having to focus on things like camera angles and like camera placement. It's the
Mm-hmm.
head. It's that simple. You
Yeah.
just put the turning point right here, and then you make the rest of the game.
Oh, can you imagine how absolutely awful third-person VR games would be?
I stop.
It's a one-way train to Vomit Town. You'd
Hey, I
hate to
have an
see
idea.
it.
I have an idea. Every time we yell, we put gain on the audio,
Oh no. I mean, I could do it. I could conceivably do it.
and
But
it'd be funny.
oh
And
yeah,
then,
I think that it
and
might be
then
the
five
funny.
seconds before, we're like eerie warning.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain all 8.5 of our viewers would be very appreciative of the audio gain absolutely annihilating both their headphones and shredding their eardrums to bits. Like right then,
Well,
right,
that's how
would be
they know
great
to
for some
take it
grain.
off because the gain's about to jump up to plus 20.
Oh no. But I was just thinking just
We
now
just
about
instantly fry every audio device in a 5 mile radius.
it's just our secret hidden ability. Nah, but as far as sequels go, I was thinking about Doom Eternal compared to Doom 2016, and I think that that whole thing is in a similar situation to Portal 1 and Portal 2 because in both situations you see a game that like does something completely different. Like Portal was literally just it's a puzzle game but with with a heck ton of backstory and other little added
Portals.
details that make it great. And also just intuitive and outstanding technology and a game mechanic. I mean, literally teleporting as, you know, a game mechanic. It's
You,
unheard
you,
of.
you shoot a teleport bolt.
And
Great.
you know, Doom 2016, it's just, first actually like shooter that goes against the grain and just prioritizes player. Both of them kind of just prioritize player experience and kind of rock the gaming world on that. But like, and like the sequel capitalizes on that, expands on it, and both of them are amazing games. And I like, that they're both good examples of a series that has, an amazing, groundbreaking original game, but also a sequel that sort of complements
Lives
it
up to
nicely.
the lives up to
Well,
the hype.
I'd argue that
That
Doom
was
Eternal
his.
doesn't quite live up to the hype as much as Portal 2, but at the very least, it does a good job of not sinking, of not
Yeah,
being a digression or a regression of, you know, what Doom
here.
2016 was. And
Let, let, let
I
me
like
put it this way.
the. Sorry, go on.
Let me put it this way. So, whenever you play the sequel of a game, that's extra money you're spending to experience more of that same thing. And
Hmm.
I think that the important thing in terms of making a game based on player experience is you don't disappoint your players and make them feel like they wasted $60, or in the case of lots of AAA titles today, $100
Oh, and that
in order to get the
hurts.
whole experience. Like
Hmm.
the new Modern Warfare game, I want to play it, but it's in my brother's room, and if I want my own copy, I just gotta shore up a hundo. Like, that's fucked. And then the thing is, I played a little bit of it, and I can tell you, it's worth my time. It feels nostalgic, but they've got a new interesting story. Damn
Yeah.
gas! Damn gas! Except this time it's the Taliban.
Aw, I got you.
That's
But like,
basically it. Um,
uh,
and I like it. It's just I don't feel like I would have wasted my $100 if I would have got that game myself. And
yeah.
another example of that is back in the PlayStation 2 days, the Jack series, or Jack and Daxter series, as it were. Um, with each game that came out after the first Jack and Daxter, the precursor, whatever the hell. I'm sorry, I don't remember names for shit. It it just the first game blew up the industry by being a fun, graphically intensive, like intuitive and just generally headache-free platformer. Like they put a lot of time into it to make sure that it didn't make you feel like it was impossible to play it or beat or whatever. And
Yeah.
then Jack 2 capitalizes on this with the Dark Jack mode, and you just it's just a new way to beat the bones out of people. And
Yeah.
the story just kind of takes a left turn and jumps off a cliff in terms of how it makes you feel.
Is
And,
that
and then
like
Jack,
jumping off a cliff in a good way or like a bad way?
a good way, the feeling it creates in your stomach is the way the story went.
I got you.
And then in Jack 3, it becomes less Jack. Um, the ending kind of made me feel bad about Jack 3, though. That's just me. It it made it to where Jack is done dealing with his problems midway through the game and
Hmm.
starting to deal with the world's problems. Some random ass random chimp event that's about to happen because of fate.
I
And he
got you.
deals with it. He deals with it. He beats the bones out of everything that embodies it.
Hmm.
And this beating the bones out of things is something that the game also did really well. You had several ways to attack enemies, and also Jack gained like godly kind of light powers. It just those games have a special place in my heart because they're not garbage.
Yeah, that's
As
understandable.
sequels and as games by themselves.
Yeah. And Doom
And
Eternal is
honestly, here,
sorry,
let
go
me
on.
put it this way: God of War 1 and 2 and the Jack series age tremendously wonderfully. They
Mm.
they look like modern games in terms of quality. It's just that you have to upscale them in order for them to look good.
I
Otherwise,
gotcha.
you get the chunky 480p resolution.
Oh, you hate to see it. You'd hate to see it.
Yeah, but
But
that's easy to fix.
as far as like improving on player experience and everything, I definitely think that Doom Eternal does that. You know, like in Doom 2016, you could kind of like it was, and I kind of hesitate to use this term, but it was kind of a turn your brain off experience. You know, you just kind of
Yeah,
took your instincts take over, and you set to beaten bones. But Doom
what you
Eternal,
do is you just let the lead fill the enemies.
hmm but Doom Eternal sort of takes that and it says, you have to earn, like you have to work to be able to understand how all the different systems work together to be able to get to that point to where you can turn your brain off while playing it. There's a bit of strategy involved in how you approach the beating of the bones, but once you properly get it down pat and you learn all the systems, you learn like the weak points for the enemies, it just becomes a very fluid experience once more where you can just turn your brain off, fill them enemies with as much lead as your heart desires, and you do it in the best and coolest way possible. But as far as story goes, Doom Eternal is objectively worse. And
Uh,
like worse, not. I think that saying worse is bound to lead one to immediately think bad. Like the story isn't bad, but it isn't like I liked Doom 2016's approach to storytelling, where it was like you had story there. There was a very clear story. Something went wrong, and you got to beat the bones out of whatever caused it. Very simple. And Doom
Painting
Eternal
every
likes
single
to
demon in hell.
yeah, Doom Eternal though it likes to get a bit too into the whole like into what you're beating the bones out of, and it's like, listen, I don't care. It's like, in some senses though, like I mean, the con maker, she's plastered over frickin' everything, so you're bound to want to know about her. But Doom Eternal takes the story that's it. Doom Eternal takes the story way too seriously in a way that Doom 2016 didn't, and I don't like that. If I'm being honest,
I I
like there
see.
is an entire like Doom Eternal is very interested in grabbing you by the wrist and showing you who the Doom Slayer is, and that was something that I didn't personally care for. Like, would you care for the spoilers on it?
Um, well, I'm the same as the audience. If you actually do care about getting spoiled, then just kind of skip a few seconds, man.
Yeah, I'll try to. Patrick, you can time me. I'll keep this to 20 seconds. I don't imagine it'll take longer, but we'll just keep it to 20 seconds. You just count
All
in the
right, go
background.
ahead.
All right, all right. You're already counting. Good. Okay, so basically, the Doom Slayer is Doom Guy from the original Doom games, Doom 1, 2, and 64. And like and that's pretty much it. Is they dedicate an entire mission to like revealing it and everything. It's why like and there's a bunch of like codex entries and stuff on how things connect and everything. But whenever you get the chance to play it, you can read up all about that for yourself or whatever. You can come over sometime and I'll let you read through them or what and whatnot. But anyway,
Okay,
yeah,
by the way, you
that's.
took 30 seconds.
I
Liar!
mean, it's fine. You could have let me know at 20 seconds though, but that's beside the point. Anyway, now
I
you know
don't
the
care that
connection,
much.
and they dedicated an entire mission to this, and that's like looking back on it, it just grinds my gears because it's like it's not. It feels as though Doom Eternal wasn't made to explain what happened. Like you played Doom 2016, you know what happens at the end of it.
Yeah, They-
And you know how it ends. Yeah, guess what? They never explain. They never explain how he got from there, what happened at the end of Doom 2016, to the start of Doom Eternal. They never talk about it. Not even in the Codex entries. Like, I have my own theory of what happened, but like, and I mean, I figure I could talk about it. Doom 2016 has been out long enough, like four years roundabout, that we can talk about the ending, don't you think?
yeah, of course. So I'll say it because it's the freshest in my mind. Okay,
Yeah.
so you defeat him. You defeat giant crab monster. You go back to Earth with kind of this sword dealy that lets you disable the Argent Energy well. And for background, Argent Energy is like some kind of energy that you get by donating souls to hell, and then they return it to you. Like, okay, go ahead and use this. It power thing
The
good.
ultimate return investment.
It power thing good. And so um, the company that ended up using this, they opened a portal to hell on Mars. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
And you end up doing the things to close it because hell portal equal bad. Um, and then you go back to Earth, and this guy he takes it from you while he's in the middle of sending you back to hell, except on Earth, I think maybe. Um, and basically, you just
You're gone.
yeah, you're screwed. The end of
What?
Doom 16 creates the new villain and screws you.
Yeah. Well, so here's what I think happened, because it's very obvious in Doom Eternal. You've probably seen there's the Fortress of Doom and everything. You've seen that, yes?
No, go ahead and speak because I have
One more
not.
time.
I
Oh,
have
okay.
not. Go ahead and speak.
Okay. Well, Fortress of Doom, it's basically the hub world in Doom Eternal, which I don't mind the addition of a hub world. It's just kind of, it's like, okay. And that's it. That's just, it's okay. But what I'm thinking is, since you just got teleported at the end of Doom 2016 to an unknown location, it's my guess that you got teleported to the Fortress of Doom. It
See,
would it would in my mind be the only explanation as to how you got there, is that, and like, apparently, you know, like, I won't say too much, but let's just say that maybe Samuel Hayden sent you there for a reason, you know.
mhm.
But that's about, you know, that's about
Oh
it.
yeah,
I just,
and you know me, I would have said Samuel Hayden earlier. I'm no
but I
names.
figure
Be
it
remembered by brain.
I didn't know if you were doing that because you were like, I don't know, maybe not spoil, like, spoil that Doom Guy gets cucked at the end of 2016, but not who he gets cucked by. Gotta be
Uh,
careful now.
well, I just don't care that much.
Nah,
Um,
you're good.
I didn't know his name. 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 Is that fine? Is that fine? I didn't
You
know
didn't
his
know his
name.
name. You just didn't know his name. You didn't know his name. You didn't know his name. It's fine. You didn't know his name. You didn't know his name. He's the man. But it also, you know, like, again, Doom Eternal, but, you know, to come full circle, Doom Eternal, great fighting, combat, and gameplay experience. Platforming, there was more of that in this one. Or was there any platforming in 2016? Or was
Yes,
it
if
just
you wanted to
extremely
explore
sparse?
secrets, if
Mm.
you wanted any secrets, you had to platform.
This time it's a bit more mandatory. Uh, and that's a complaint that I have, is that, like, or in and of itself, platforming is not the bad. You know, it's not a bad addition, but I
It's
would
just not
say
what
that,
Doom's about.
or not quite even that. It's just there's nothing to do other than platform, and it's like, listen, I don't necessarily want demons breathing down my neck and extracting my extracting my vertebrae
Skeleton.
forcibly, like they're picking out rocks from the river. But, like, at the same time, I would like a little bit more going on between the battle arenas. You know what I mean? Just a bit
See,
more keeping you going. Because as far as I can remember from Doom 2016, it at the very least kept up with that. Is making you feel as though you always had something to do, always had some fight to partake in, some demon to beat the bones
Like,
out of.
yeah, there was no space between combat. Like, oh, you're done with combat? Congratulations, you're starting another combat.
You're done with
Fuck
combat?
you!
No,
That's what
you're
I
not.
liked.
Yeah, me too. And I don't know. Another thing that I would like to. It's a bit of a nitpick on my part, but I like the color palette in 2016 a bit more. I feel like the
Oh, okay,
darker, more.
we're getting really subjective now.
Yes, I. That's why I phrased. I prefaced that with a nitpick because well, it's the last tool in my tool belt that I would like to use to try to mend this board. You know what I mean? Uh,
I see.
but I just like the color. It's a simple gripe that I have had like throughout the entirety of Doom Eternal and everything. It's just I just like a bit more of that like grittier drab color palette that we saw in 2016. I feel like it just made for a
Hey,
more thematic experience.
I see. But you want to know why we had that color scheme?
One more time you cut out
Because it
there.
was a. Want to know why we had that color scheme?
Sure.
Because it was a different planet.
Yes, I'm aware. But then again, I don't necessarily think that everything needs to be so painfully brightly colored. I'm a boy with sensitive eyes, young man.
I see.
Anyway, I'm just saying, I like the sort of darker environment, you know? Like, in 2016, the environment and the overall atmosphere contributed to that feeling of, I'm ripping and tearing until it's done. But Doom Eternal just feels like it's focused way too much on like the fun that it's like this is still a game about slaughtering demons of every you know
Of every ilk.
of every ilk. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Of every ilk. And it's like, like I'm not necessarily asking for everything to be DCEU, but I don't know, man, maybe just a little bit of like darker color palettes, you know what I mean? Because like some of these locations, it's like they're a bit like too bright for what I'm looking for. You know, it's overall
Oh,
the atmosphere just feels less like dark. You know, it feels less. Despite dealing with the same like subject matter, it feels like we're dealing with a different thing entirely. You know what I mean?
well, are these dark? Are these brighter areas filled with boiling lava?
In some cases, yes, but not in every case.
Oh, well, that's why
You know,
I agree.
yeah, and it's like, or I mean, like, you one of the things is you visit Earth and it's like, yeah, okay, I expect to visit Earth, but like everything is just it's way too bright and colorful, which contributes to the whole feeling that I'm playing an arcade game. And that's something that I didn't that's an aspect that I felt was a bit of a about the game as well. Is just
Yeah.
like all the one-ups and everything and it's like I feel like in some cases they make for a more fun experience, which is I definitely contributes to the overall idea that the people at id Software did a line of coke and thought fun, and then came with Doom Eternal in a night. But
Um.
I think that taking it back a bit with the whole arcade feel would be nice. Also, I don't know if it
Yeah.
was just me, but I feel like secrets were way too easy to get. Like I
Um,
scarcely ever had to look up anything. Like I think for one or two things I had to look up like, okay, where is this? Where is this sacred? The secret sacred.
the sacred
But
secret.
yeah, and it's like I only had to do that like one or two times and there's like upgrades for it and it's like I do like the upgrades and that kind of opens it up to the upgrades which are uh neat. I found through this game, I gotta thank it. I found out I prefer a minimalist approach to like upgrades, not necessarily customization, but upgrades. Uh, Doom 2016 had, I think, like with the Argent energy orbs or whatever, that was like a way better system of getting suit, health, and armor upgrades. I will tell you that here and now. It was just overall it was just a system that you didn't have to think about, you know? Or at least in my case, I didn't quite have to think about it too much. It's like, okay, this is only a small takeaway, or, pause from the fight. I'm going to get myself some more health, so that way these demons that are tall as skyscrapers and with boots that are made of the souls of the mortally damned doesn't absolutely shatter my face bones. You know, I could just upgrade my health and just keep on moving, but this system, it kind of requires you to think of it too much. You know what? That should be Doom Eternal's. That should be the title of Doom Eternal's cons. It makes you think a bit too much.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's totally like that sounds totally viable as a reason for not liking it as much as 16. Because the point of
Yeah.
a Doom game in the first place is to stop you from thinking. That's how the original Doom game was. And also the whole brighter colors for the arcadey feel, well, that's not how the original Doom was. It wasn't
Hmm.
very bright. It was more serious of a game. You walked around
Yeah.
with guns, blasting the heads off of demons.
Hmm.
And you were doing it because they invaded Earth, or you were sent to hell, or both, or neither. Who knows?
Yeah. But also, like, the whole, like, I watched a few YouTube videos about this, and one of them kind of hit the head on the nail. Is that like we were bound to not like Eternal as much as 2016 just because of what 2016 represents or represented, especially when it came out, but even still, sort of nowadays, because it was so vastly different from the shooters that were clogging up our arteries like salt on a pasta plate. You know, it was the right mix of kind of everything. You know, it kind
Yes.
of balked at the hold your hand approach of gaming. It balked. It literally beat the absolute snot, bones, and other various bodily fluids out of the storytelling approach that most AAA games had adapted, and it was like, why should Doom 2016 just said, okay, they're doing this, and I should care because.
That, by the
Meanwhile,
way,
Doom
bones are
Eternal,
indeed a bodily fluid.
yes, indeed, I know, I have the science. Yeah, I have
Yes,
the science.
you are the knowledge.
I am Mr. Knowledge. Uh, anyway, but
Knowledge.
in some instances, though, Eternal sort of has, like, it sort of comes down to, like, feeling just a little bit too much like a AAA shooter. You know what I mean? I don't know
Mhm.
why I keep saying, you know what I mean. It's like, you probably already know what I mean. I don't need to end every sentence or use the phrase, you know what I mean, like a comma. But here we are.
Well,
Regardless,
it's your decision to use it like a comma.
hmm but, you're right. You're right. But I think that once I finish up Persona 5 and all that jazz, I'm likely going to replay Doom 2016 just to really compare the two experiences and see which one I prefer more, you know? But as it
Beat
currently
bones out
stands
of
in my
enemies
head, I
one
still
game
think
after
that,
the next.
yeah. But I still think that potentially Doom 2016 offered maybe a bit more of like a balanced experience in my for my tastes at the very least. Like looking at the two objectively, Eternal is better, but subjectively, I think I'll likely find that 2016 is just a bit more fun for me, you know.
Mm. I think that's how everyone feels, especially if they really like Doom 16.
Mhm. And that's just in contrast to how I feel about Portals 1 and 2. Like I love both of the two games equally, you know, and also beautiful callback to me. Yay. I guess. Anyway, but Portal 2, like I just love it a lot. I love the storytelling that's present. Like they both of them take the same approach to storytelling, where in the first game it's minimalistic without much of a hands-on sort of thing, and it's sort of there in the background for a bit of ambiance. But in the second game, both of them focus way more on the story, and they let the story sort of grab the game and sort of steer it where it will lead. But I feel like Portal 2 does that better just because the story was more engaging. We're able to sort of see more, we're able to do more, we're able to experience more, and we're able to get backstory, which is something that the Portal games sort of thrive on. It has extremely rich backstory.
Hmm. And the thing is, Jack 3 has a continuous storyline, unlike Portal 2, I think.
Now,
So
Portal
it's
2 is
easier to
connected to Portal
appreciate.
1. Although, if you haven't played Portal 2, have you played the Portal games? I forget.
No, I've not.
Oh,
I just,
well,
I just
good
thought they
sir,
were.
I will be lending you them very shortly. I have the orange box and Portal 2, so both of them for the 360, and
Well,
I'm willing to lend them to you at any point in time.
well, that's what you love to see. Um, oh, I can't believe that we sat here and talked about sequels for over 50 minutes. It
I think that we could potentially just straight up call this episode pilot sequel.
pilot sequel.
Yes, and it works on many levels because there was the practice podcast that we recorded like last week. It works. It checks out.
Yes, by the way, the reason why we'll never actually show you guys the practice podcast that we'll be talking about is because there was no audio on my end in the recording, which is kind of, you know, a problem. It's because I tried doing it on my phone. That was my fault.
Yeah. But yeah, Randy, we may have an issue. Okay, how long does yours say it's been recording? We've been recording for.
Where did I find that?
It should just be in like the OBS window, down at the bottom beside live.
Oh,
REC.
oh, 38 minutes. We've been in the call for almost an
Oh, okay.
hour. Yeah, but
Randy, you scared me a
yes,
little
we
bit.
said over 50 minutes.
Yeah, we're just half an hour. Randy, it's been an hour, guys. It's been an hour and we must go. Nah,
It's been an hour and it is time to dip.
it is time for us to go. Our people need us not, but we gotta dip. Oh man. But yeah,
Man,
sequels, man.
I know,
Sequels.
right? What else would there be to talk about? I mean, we've we've been on sequels for so long that I'm just kind of
Honestly,
lost in myself.
honestly, I straight up just did not expect sequels to take like a 30-minute chunk of the cast. You know?
Yeah, I
I
didn't
mean,
either.
if you wanted, until we digress into a tangent which is inevitable, would you care to discuss like more games? More gams?
All right. So what I'm basically gonna do is, um, sorry about that. I usually hit things when I'm thinking.
Alright.
I just start beating
It's just
someone up, and they're like, "What the fuck, man?" And I'm sorry. I was thinking.
you beating the absolute snot out of somebody for 30 minutes is just the rest of the podcast while I sit in silence and slowly drink my bottled water.
Hey, man, that's a podcast. People would watch the shit out of that.
You right, you right.
Um, but not really. The first Persona games, lots of people just kind of avoid them because, ew, PlayStation 1 games making me cringe.
That's quite the way of putting it, but you sort of right.
Yeah, I'm very right, and I kind of I kind of hate to see that because what that means is that people just think that old games are bad when games like the first God of War, the first Jack and Daxter, and other games age well. Although here I'm gonna put it this way: the first Persona games did not age well. It did not age well.
Oh no, the ears of the poor listeners. Well,
Yep,
actually,
because
okay,
we're
the
boosting that.
first Persona game probably didn't, but as far as Persona 2 Innocent Sin is concerned, my playthrough of it, I'm finding it to still hold up.
I see.
Mostly. I
Well, the
still
thing
hate
is,
random encounters and turn based combat, absolutely just shreds my toes, but I mean, overall, it's not a bad experience. It still, I think, holds up. It doesn't feel flawed, but maybe that's just how pixel graphics are. You know,
yeah,
even
yeah.
like
The thing pixel graphics are timeless when you intentionally pixelate them, but the way you move through dungeons in Persona 1 is it tries to look good and it's just so cringe.
I've heard it's
But I
first
still like
person.
the
Is
game for
it?
some reason.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, that's painful. That sounds awful.
Well, it can be. But
I,
I gotta get to using my persona to beat your bones out. I got him.
I got him indeed. But I really got to get back to. I'm thinking about going back to playing Innocent Sin sooner or later, but I really need to dedicate myself to beating Persona 5 for once and for all. And I'm also dividing my time between that and Animal Crossing New Horizons. Got to make Purgatory question
Ah,
mark look the
yes.
best it can. You know
Doom
what I mean?
Eternal. Yes. I figured it out. You're playing Doom Eternal Aftermath mode.
Yes. I just take a shotgun to whomever enters my village, and I don't deem them worthy. Isabel is the Night Watch. She carries around a sniper rifle with, you know,
Yes,
a silencer on it
that's
for silent suppression
see
of
the thing is,
infidels.
Isabella was the one demon that Doom guy couldn't kill. She just kept the lead kept bouncing off of her.
He made friends instead.
Yeah, no, that's just his wife.
No.
The only one brutal enough to survive a fight with the Doom guy has to be his wife. You can't, you can't have him be with anyone
Yeah.
else
Then again,
at
I would
all.
honestly, even if it was a fan thing, I would absolutely love to see like a series between like Doom Guy and like him
In
finding just
Animal
like,
Crossing,
or no, not in Animal Crossing, but just him finding just a very kind-hearted wife. It's very simple. It's slice of life, and it's just Doom Guy like he's still kind of mute, and he's still obviously messed up from spending, from
half of
beating the
his
bones
life
out of
in
demons
hell.
for an eternity. But like, it would just be. I think it would be just so incredibly wholesome. He just kind of learns to. I mean, it would be completely unnecessary, but it'd just be fun watching him just kind of live life and learn to just kind of enjoy
Chill.
enjoy
Learn
chilling.
to chill.
Yeah, learn
Put the
to be.
shotgun down, honey.
Oh wait, the bread boys, son.
Don't
Have you been
worry, it's
reading
not a
Heresy
demon.
recently? Have you been
What?
reading Heresy recently? Unacceptable. Oh no. Oh no.
Honey, I I know that religion's important and all, but you've got to.
Uh. Oh no. You want to know it's something that we could definitely sink time into talking about undeniably?
What?
Although,
Oh,
granted,
oh,
it might it might be a bit cringe.
uh, cringe.
Well, you'll see. You'll understand. Okay, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Some people might see it to be a bit cringe. They might click off, but we could still talk about it because it's our podcast, and heck if we care. Am I right?
Well, see, the thing is, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is kind of a niche anime, even if we found so many people who are into it, as hard as
Well, I
we are.
mean, well, I mean, in Japan, it apparently it isn't actually so niche. It's just in the Western world, but even here in
In the
In
States,
America,
it's pretty big, but
yeah.
most of
Well, I
the
mean,
other
it's
world,
getting
they
bigger.
just kind of, yeah, it's
The trend
growing.
is growing, and it keeps getting
It's
bigger.
growing.
Yeah. But I don't know what aspect of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to talk about. I would love to talk about Stone Ocean, Steel Ball Run, and JoJolion, but you haven't caught up yet, and that really saddens my
Yeah,
beat. You know what I mean?
yeah. I'm sorry I couldn't crazy your beat. I just, and I'm also sorry for just absolutely extracting your bones.
My bro.
I,
It sounded like you said Brones.
Browns,
You're
how you doing,
extracting
the
my Browns.
Browns?
My Browns. Nah,
I'm
but
going to brutally extract your skeleton, boy.
well, what we could talk about in relation to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is the dub, which is objectively less than optimal, except for Part 5. I hear that it's not as bad.
I've heard that for a couple people, like that voice actor ruined Giorno, and I've heard the dub for all the parts, and they're not even bad. They're
Yeah,
not.
well, I saw
Honestly,
the.
here. Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. They
Put it that
hired
way.
actors in the first place instead of just pulling hobos off the street.
Understandable.
Yes, they weren't very good actors, but they hired actors.
Yeah.
And also, they didn't go on Fiverr. They didn't
Fiverr.
go on Fiverr.
They didn't, They didn't just pull from the same 5 people and reuse them for all 5 parts. Looking at you, Funimation.
Oh, is Funimation in charge of the dubs?
Funimation controls a large part of the dubs, and they also control a lot of the anime that I enjoy, which is a very big pain in my straight underneath my kneecaps, just because I don't prefer the Funimation streaming experience. I'll phrase it like that.
Well, that's why we pirate. I don't know why you do anything else when everything's so whack. Funimation controls so much of anime that you just have to steal.
Not quite. I find that well,
You
I mean
just have to.
Crunchyroll has a lot of
Oh,
it, and I mean my brother he has that I think Crunchyroll has a premium service and he's using that, so I don't quite have ads.
I see.
But I'm an odd person just because I don't mind ads because they let me pace myself when I'm watching anime, and also whenever there's ads going on, whenever the viewer isn't broken and just decides to say no, you will not be viewing any ads today, which isn't that big of a pain. Uh, Whenever I do have to watch ads, I typically just use that time to catch up on manga. Mr. Intellectual, you know what I mean?
You read manga for 30 seconds at a time.
Nah, I'm just caught up on multiple manga. It's great. What part of part 5 are you at in the manga, or have you not progressed any since the last time we spoke of this?
Um, I think that I got to where okay, so they had defeated Babyface, and I
Ah,
don't actually remember where I am past that.
hmm. Alrighty.
They just beat his bones out as far as the stand goes, and then Jorno went, "Hey Snake, go venom his bones out," and Snake went venomed his bones out.
Yeah, we got to be careful talking about part 5 though because it's still comparatively uh comparatively
It's
recent.
new. It's new, yeah. But the thing is, I'm explaining it in a way that, oh yeah, they win. They win that fight. It's just I'm not exactly going to tell you how.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because seeing it is a different experience, no matter how much prose I say or write.
Indeed. Oh yeah, I saw a clip from the part 3 dub and I don't want to believe it's true, but all right, spoilers for Stardust Crusaders, but uh after Abdul comes back and everything, like his Polnareff's just Muhammad Abdul, and he just goes, "Yes, I am." In the dub, he goes, "Yes, you had better believe I am," and it's like why? We had
Ah!
perfection before. We had glory. You, you soiled it. You soiled it. Soiled it. Soiled it.
Soiled it!
Soiled it.
Soiled it!
Soiled it.
Soiled it!
Soiled it.
Soiled it!
Soiled it.
Soiled
Soiled it.
it!
But yeah, it's just you. It's so unfortunate, and that's the issue that I have with some dubs is they like is they change around some they change around some things.
Oh yeah, that's how I think that's how David Productions just dubs. It's how they do it.
Maybe.
Because it's the same throughout all five parts. The official subs are different from the official dubs, and the English is different from the actual dub.
And that's just unfortunate.
Yeah,
But I
it
mean,
just
it's out
breaks.
of our
It
hands.
just it just brutally extracts my skeleton. What can I say?
We can we can just only hope that it isn't cringe.
Yeah.
Speaking
Speaking
of
of which,
your
have you posted cringe yet?
no,
No,
I don't think I've
no,
quite
you
posted
haven't.
cringe.
No, you haven't. Okay.
What if you want, we can move on, set ourselves down that path by segueing into our next conversational topic: least favorite anime and why,
For me, I mean that's quite simple. See, the
or
thing
just
is,
any anime that you can like really dig into why you don't like it.
okay. For me, even though when I originally watched it, I first liked it. I just watched a few videos and Sword Art Online instantly became my least favorite
Mm-hmm.
because I realized a lot of things. See, because I had watched a really stupid anime before starting it. It's called To Love Ru, and it's a harem. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the characters tried to involve the main guy's sister, which is kind of
It's just it's a bit cringe.
yeah, it made you cringe. But it only happens manga side, I think, and the manga stopped being uploaded to Kiss Anime because the one company who was scanlating it, they were like, "Hey, this has a license. I don't need a lawsuit." After a long time, that's just what ended up happening. Um, and then I go to watching Sword Art Online, and I get to the Alfheim arc, and I don't even think anything of all the wrong things with it. See, because the original one, Sword Art Online, just like the first season, it was
Mm-hmm.
actually good. And I don't mean actually good in terms of you would enjoy it. I mean actually good as in it's impossible for it to make me cringe. Like there's
Uh
no reason to make it better is what I'm saying in my eyes. But then Alfheim, I almost, no, I'm kidding.
now you're good.
See, the thing is, the first issue is like they bring back Yui, and for those who don't know and don't ever care to watch Sword Art, Yui
I
is
think
some
I think I checked
yeah.
both of those boxes.
It's a robot that um it's an AI that the main couple adopts. And
Child.
it just that honest and then she's kind of just robbed away by the system, and
Mm-hmm.
then Kirito saves her soul in a little droplet. He made her into an item, and then he still has the item in Alpha. It's a
Oh.
different game. It's a different game.
Oh. That's
Uh,
unfortunate.
it just doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make like yeah, you could very well justify that it was stored in the VR headset storage. I mean,
Even so.
why would it be the same? Why would he be
Yeah,
able to bring it into a different game? And then
like
and then it's just kind of a Deus Ex because Yui just lets him know everything. Like, oh yeah, this is how you do this game. And then he's like, okay.
This is how you do not die.
And then all the tension is taken out because here, get this. Um, sorry, I lost my mind. There's no
You're
more
good.
death
Hope you
game.
can get it
There
back again.
is no more death game. Is what I was about to say.
I don't know what
Um,
Death Game is.
it's just the first SAO was a death game. Like the way they figure it out is one of the minor characters swipes down his menu. He's like, he tries locking out. Wait, where's the button? Even though it's still there as a button, you just can't press it.
Oh,
It's grayed out.
you say, "I wish to leave," and the game just says no.
Basically, yeah.
Mm.
And then they get teleported to a plaza, and the main guy is like, "Hey, so you can't leave." There have already been about 200 deaths from people pulling off headsets, and yeah, fuck you guys. Go ahead and beat the game to leave.
Whack.
Yeah.
But
So so that's the death game, and the whole thing is if you die in the game, the headset fries your brain. You die in real life. That's why it
parents.
became a meme where it's like that people ask, "Hey, what happens if I die in this game?" You die in real life.
Oh, okay. Your parents walk in. Ooh, I smell ham. Oh no! Weeping for their
all right,
fried child.
all right. So Yui wasn't even the bad parts of it because, all right. So here's the main problems of the game. There's of the of Alfheim. All right. There's no character development on Kirito. He doesn't
Mm.
actually have to learn the game because story mechanics. He already knows it. Right. His first scene is him cutting down enemies.
Oh.
Ah! Hold on, I'm pausing the recording.
Anyway, so back at it
See
again.
that? That is the funny.
Yes.
Okay.
Back.
The recording actually shook. I made it shake.
Very nice. Back at it again. You were saying on Sword Art Online being your least or the worst anime
Okay,
you've
here,
ever
let
seen.
me get back to it. All right, so he does. Main character Kirito, or you can pronounce it with a D and R. It doesn't matter to me. But he doesn't undergo any character growth through the whole part. Part? Yes, it's a part. It's structured much like JoJo in that the
No!
first two parts. Ah,
No!
the first two parts are one season.
How the mighty have fallen.
Yes. Well, it's just structured like it. It came out way before JoJo.
Sword Art Online came before
Uh,
JoJo.
yes. In terms of the anime,
Okay,
the
I
good
was
anime,
like, I
the good JoJo anime.
I was just about to leave my house to come punch you.
Oh shit!
Don't sully me with facts. Don't sully JoJo with the
Just
facts.
in 1980 exact, fucking some bitch named I forgot his name. He just sits down and starts writing cancer.
I gotta thank you, Randy,
Unfortunate.
for always ensuring that, or for constantly ensuring throughout this podcast episode that we don't have to worry about Kappa clapping us. Oh no, that's actually a phrase we could use, getting Kappa clapped.
Oh no. Yeah, he just doesn't undergo any character development.
That's really unfortunate.
Um, and I think that's a problem of the whole of the series as a whole. It's just him. He do what
Ah,
does except for the Sachi arc. That's where he gains his depth. But I'm not going to go too much further into it. He doesn't look like he changes that much.
I got you.
Doesn't even look like he thinks about it that much. Except, I guess that might be his personality, which might be a little deeper than I'm thinking, because he does actually tell the story of why he doesn't fucking join a guild, and it just hurts to get it recounted.
Yeah, I got you.
It's really fucked.
Yeah, sounds real
Um,
unfortunate.
and the thing is, if Sachi hadn't fucking died in the stupid trap room that might have been the Asuna.
Ah,
Honestly, I would have liked that a lot more.
I gotcha. I hear that it also has a lot of unnecessary fan service, and almost like sickeningly so.
A little bit in the first, but in the second one, it like forcibly sexualizes his cousin, which is like in the familial sense, his sister.
Oh,
It's just you hate to see it.
is it the
It
sort of
that's all I'll
writing that
say.
is indicative of the people in the writing room touching themselves while making the scenes?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
oh no.
I'm not even kidding.
I couldn't finish No
It just
Game No
is.
Life because of just the blatant and unnecessary fan service. Which fan service in
Oh,
and of
you
itself
would.
isn't necessary, but like there's fan service and then there's tasteful fan service, and I hate phrasing it like that. Fan service in and of itself
Uh,
of that capacity that we're speaking of, not necessarily. I know there's not much taste to it, but then again, there's just blatantly sickening fan service.
yeah. Um. The Alfheim arc kind of capitalizes on tasteless fan service. It's just it at that point because of the grossness. Your pee can't even get hard looking at it.
Oh no.
It's just that bad.
Oh no.
Even if it's Bib Tim the anime girl,
Oh,
it's just so bad that your pee can't even get hard. It's
that's really
bad.
unfortunate. You hate to see it.
Yeah. Alfheim disappointed me as a whole now that I look back at it on it in my head. And the way that they bust through again is just bullshit. It's Yui. She just fucking hey, this card? Yeah, hold on, let me punch numbers real quick. Bam, boss room.
Yikes.
It's a whole ass Deus Ex. There is no smart way of getting through the barrier.
I have an issue.
And it's literally a barrier. It's so unimaginative. It's literally a barrier.
Oh, oh.
It's an
I
invisible wall. It's literally an invisible wall.
I have an issue on principle with bringing a character back from the dead without proper justification for doing so. In the sense that, like, they need to have greater story relevance, or they need to offer something in their return. You know, something that justifies,
Yes.
you know, justifies the character development that people likely got from their death. It's why I have an issue with uh, spoilers for Stardust Crusaders. It's why I have an issue with Abdul coming back as a whole, because he came back and then he didn't do anything. Well, he died again, but he didn't really do anything.
He did what he does best. He sacrificed himself for Polnareff.
Yeah, and that like that's just a real, as a whole, that's just a shame because he doesn't provide anything more to the story. Had he had he stayed dead,
um, although let's put it this way, he would have died to Vanilla Ice. Nobody would have survived Vanilla Ice.
likely not. But then again, his role, if we're talking about adding someone there who's just going to die by the hands of Vanilla Ice, they could have easily just scrapped the second Oingo Boingo fight and used Whole Horse as the stand-in Crusader. He shows remorse for what he did and everything. Maybe there's a flesh bud that was controlling him
Or
because we've seen
no, no,
Araki
no,
not
no,
shy away
no,
from that.
no. We see that he doesn't have any loyalty to Dio, and there is no flesh bud either until Dio actually shows him the power of the world.
Hmm.
And I feel like if we had changed the events to where let's just scramble everything. Abdul never comes back because he actually fucking dies.
Yeah.
No prank on Polnareff, no haha funny. Um,
No, no breakup folder. Have no haha funny. Go on.
yeah. Um, uh, And then there is no moment of a whole horse going after Dio by himself. Or he does go after Dio and he's like, damn, I need help. Hey, hey, I know. The fucking Crusaders are going after Dio. I'll join them. Then he tries and we have the Oingo Boingo fight eventually. Except without Boingo. At least I think his name's Boingo.
I think it's Boingo, but maybe a different method to that is it's someone else in the roster of Dio's villains, and Whole Horse saves them in order to find favor with them, which I think would be in character for him. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that
although the
sounds
issue
right.
with that is Boingo, Whole Horse kidnapped Boingo. He kidnapped him, like
Yeah, he
stuffed him in a
literally
suitcase.
kidnapped him.
The man driving the taxi, he turns around, giant suitcase with Whole Horse, and turns around, and small child is there. He does not question. Uh,
Oh, well,
uh,
if you're gonna snuggle a child, I guess that's how you do it.
but even so, I still think that potentially we could see Whole Horse approach help them in one of their fights and explain although I know that I can't join y'all quite, because of what I've done in the past, I want to help y'all with defeating Dio. I think that you could use someone like me, or at the very least, use me to help take him down. And maybe that leads to him sacrificing himself for in the pre Vanilla Ice fight. You know, he may be
Um,
because I think that it would be interesting if he has the same sort of dialogue as Avdol. Just I have no loyalty
I,
to the
I,
two of you, and I will let the two of you die if I have to, because I think that that sort of thing would be way more in character for Whole Horse, and then I think it would be a testament to how he developed traveling
I,
with them. If he died saving them, go on.
hey, so I have a different approach to Whole Horse. Rather than just killing him for the sake of replacing Abdul, I really think that we could just change that whole thing too. Because there's no reason anyone needs to die, especially with
Well,
Whole Horse. Whole Horse isn't fucking hot headed enough to go, alright, time to tackle these motherfuckers out of the way. He'd be like, hey, look out behind you, and dodge. He would
well,
dodge.
well,
Or here, let's put it this way. He takes his gun and just fucking shoots it.
maybe, but my
The
line
stand
of
isn't fast enough. It's not fast enough for Polnareff. It's not fast enough for the bullet.
yeah, but my line of thinking was more that of I don't think that by him dying in Abdul's place, I don't think that that would be just that, because I think that we would be able I think there would be enough time from when around the time that a little bit after, say for instance he sort of has a change of heart following the justice fight with Enyaba, realizing that he doesn't really have favor with anybody. Maybe we see some scenes where he's having some
Yeah,
deeper thoughts about
yeah, some
himself, and
background
then we
character
would be able
development.
to see him fully develop over the course of after joining the Crusaders and going up against Dio. Maybe he of course he tries to go after Dio by himself, witnesses the power of the world, realizes, and we see him develop so that way
Oh,
when he dies, we're able to see that the Crusaders have had an imprint on him. That they have sort of changed his mentality of looking out only for himself. Because I think that, sure, while he would die, like Abdal, while he would die where Abdal would have, it would, I think, carry more weight. Because when Abdal died by Vanilla Ice, there wasn't. I mean, the only thing that was being contradicted was his statement a few minutes earlier of, yo, if the two of you are going to die, I don't care. Which we all knew that was nonsense. The second he said that, we were all like, okay, I'm going to be writing his will now. Uh, but
his will, his epitaph.
yeah, his epitaph. But even so, I still think that Whole Horse would have more to gain from dying like that. You know,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel like the way that Whole Horse potentially died was just kind of it was just kind of cheap. I feel like Whole Horse as a character had potential. Just because
yeah.
he's
It
painted to be
it's
scum, but scum with a sort of system, scum that kind of has the potential for introspection and development. That's what I always thought seeing him, you know? His stand even sort of like
yeah,
his stand even suggests his like I felt like his stand sort of had the potential to suggest that he would need the Crusaders just because it's a stand that can't truly flourish by himself. So what better way to truly have his stand and him as a person flourish than with the Crusaders? You know, forging his own path and sort of, I don't know. I like Whole Horse a lot, and I just feel like he was wasted potential, and I feel like Abdal to
yeah,
that
for
extent,
sure.
his death was wasted potential. Like I definitely think that like him facing Dio, like maybe we could have something, before they enter Dio's thing to where he says, maybe they have like a heart to heart with not Abdul Polnareff and Iggy to where he's like, I stand, you know, when they walk in or something like that, I stand where Abdal should have. You know, I might have struck him down, but I will now help strike down Dio in, the thing that he, complete his ambitions. Maybe something like that. You know.
See,
But maybe,
um,
maybe in another timeline.
yeah, that's in another timeline though, where Rocky isn't as much of a bad writer at that point.
Yeah. Well, I
I
mean,
mean, he gets better. He gets better.
yeah.
Like, and I mean, he at right up until part seven, he was just experimenting. That was part one through six.
Sort of,
That's
yeah.
why everyone hated certain things about it. And suddenly you get to part seven, and it's just like, oh,
It's immaculate. Like rereading part 7, it's so good. But I'd still say that like parts part 6 from what like I read through part 6 twice. I think that part 6 rereading it is way more of a polished experience story-wise, except for one or two minor little nitpicks, but it is still way more of a polished experience than, you know, it's a
the
polished enough
rest of
experience
JoJo.
to I still think stand stand right up there with Steel Ball Run as a very solid part in its writing and everything.
It's just kind of whack how he was like, you know what? I'm tired of Cujo.
Well, I like rereading it. I actually originally when I read the ending, I was like, I don't like this. I hate it. Stop, please. No, don't do that, please. Weeping in the corner. But rereading it, I like the ending because it's sort of it gives them. I won't spoil it because well, any day now. He said, and he put in air quotes, any day now. David Productions is going to announce that they're working on part 6, the anime.
Okay, here, let me put it this way for you guys. It's a spoiler!
Ow, my ears. But still, okay, we'll just do another 20-second spoiler run. All right, let me know when you're going to start
30.
counting.
I'm counting
Okay.
now.
Anyway, so part 6, I think that the fact that even though most of the main cast died in part 6 and they were basically reincarnated in a new timeline, I think that's actually really nice because their family and their future descendants were freed from the curse of the Joestars. They lived normal life free of Dio and the bizarreness and everything, and that's a happy ending. It's a wonderful world. How'd I do?
I see 26 seconds.
Ah! I'm going to edit the
Almost
video
30 again.
to. Okay, I'm just going to say 30 seconds next time. Uh, I'll use my ability Killer Queen Dyson no Bakuden Bites the Dusto to go back 30 seconds just to fix that. Be right back. Plot twist, I just absolutely fry myself. Nah, but still.
Hey, you want to know what's funny? The second recording has been going for 20 minutes.
Indeed. Well, mine's been recording for 18, but we needn't worry about that. Although, it seems we've definitely got on quite the tangent from talking about sequels, but this was intentional. If you'd care for me to,
Yeah,
I could talk a bit about.
but here, I got it. We went on a tangent from talking about Sword Art Online, the worst good anime in the world. And I say good as a subjective matter because I thought that the parts that were well executed were really, really well executed. However, they're directly canceled out to where it's just a normal as like it's nothing special by all of the shit that wasn't properly carried out being really, really, really badly botched.
Yeah, I got you. If you'd like,
Yeah.
I could talk a bit about what my least favorite anime is, or at least one of the anime that I have a lot of issues with.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
So I don't know if you've heard of it. It's this anime called Golden Time, and it's not my least favorite anime. But the more I think on it, the more a lot of things just get me. I don't that just I could complain for a long time about. But
It sounds like Sword Art Online
well, the thing
in
is,
terms of quality.
Sword Art Online, from what I understand, it has good moments. Golden Time scarcely even has that. It
Oh,
first off, what I'll do a few nitpicks that I have, and one of the things is like Japan, their anime, they like to mix in some English, and that's okay. I won't judge them for it. More power to them. But I like it whenever they sort of mix in English for a reason, or like, maybe sometimes for the, or there's
the
justification
effect.
behind it, or something like that, or they're supposed to be English speaking English or something like that. But like Golden Time, the characters themselves have no. They'll have moments to where they speak English, and they have no reason to. They like. It's just like they're trying to do the funny, but it's cringe. It's cringe. Dutch. These memes, Dutch. They're cringe. They're cringe. Uh,
Are you posting cringe?
no, Golden Time is posting cringe. I'm just merely the horror struck recipient of cringe. Anyway, the character it tries very hard to be a show built on characters, and I have nothing wrong with that. I like shows that are built on characters, just because I feel characters can overall make for they're what make or break a story. You can have an interesting world, but the characters are what give that world life, and they are what allow us as the viewer to see that world, in any
It's just
capacity.
like Mario.
But
It's just like Mario.
yeah,
Like the reason why it was fun to watch part 4 was because of all of the characters and how they interacted throughout the episodes.
indeed. But Golden Time kind of lacks that. All the characters they just feel over the top in all the wrong ways. Like I don't mind over the top characters. I think that done right, over the top characters can make for, at the very least, while not a well structured experience, at the very least they can make for a fun experience. And that sometimes that's all you need anime to be, is fun. And Golden Time is not fun. The general premise is guy with amnesia. He gets into an accident. He has amnesia, and it's sort of following his college life with amnesia, trying to like regain his memory, but at the same time live his own life. And it kind of, in sometimes, it does like present the sort of like neat, for lack of a better term, neat struggle of him, of the amnesiac personality trying to cope with the fact that he's essentially going to disappear. He's basically going to die one day, you know. And as the painfully long 26 episode show goes, towards the latter half, it really plays it up. And I think that one of the things that could have fixed this show is if it was cut in half. Just because it drags it out. It drags it out kicking and screaming on its stomach. I have the wounds to prove it. And again, like I don't mind. Like, I was intrigued just because I wanted to know how they would go about approaching that sort of heavy subject matter. I felt like that was something that had a lot of potential to it, and it's executed so just poorly. Like, if you want me to spoil it, I will. I think it came out in 2013. Would you care to know?
Well, I'm gonna put it this way. I plan to watch it, and just because bad anime are just as interesting to watch as good anime from a critical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys out there want to watch it, watch it. And until I have more to talk about, um, I don't think we should. I'll probably dedicate this coming week into actually like giving it a watch so that we
Uh,
have something to talk about next time.
well, cause I okay.
Put it short. I'll say it this way. Put it short. Just put it short, man.
I'll just
Just put it
say
short.
I'll just leave it at when because it is inevitable that he would regain his memories. I think that a show that deals with amnesia, if they didn't show him regaining his memories, that would just be the cuck icing on top of the cupcake. Uh, but when he regains his memories, it does the single thing that I hate the most. But we can talk about that next week after you've had a chance to properly watch it. But stepping away from spoilers, it deals it does something incredibly dumb, like mind-bogglingly stupid, and that's it pulls in the supernatural, which is in and of itself I was not opposed to. It like tries to do a little bit with the supernatural in some capacity for providing a bit of melodrama, and that's something that the series is absolutely soaked, steeped, boiled, fried, and baked in is melodrama. So much so that I'm seeing a doctor next week about how to cure it, or drain it out of my system. Uh, but
Get rid of the melodrama
it
diabetes.
hurts so dang badly. So much melodrama, so much just. I could. I'll talk about the melodrama in a moment, but where was I? Oh yes, supernatural. And then it deals with supernatural, sets up the sort of supernatural as maybe a bit of an antagonist for cucking with the amnesiac MC's life. And then at one point it just kind of drops it. It just drops it. It just says what time what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're speaking of. You're not I'm not acting weird. You're acting weird. It is one of those, and it's like you're just you're just not going to talk about it then. Like something that it needed to address, it just straight up didn't, and it's just
Yeah,
whack.
that's something that you hate to see.
But also it is first and foremost a love story and everything, and the main
I see.
character he gets with the love interest, the person who he's supposed to be with. He gets with her early on, and I don't necessarily. Well, I have my own personal opinion on what I like to see in a love story. That being, I like to see a little bit of. I like for the meat of the love story to take place in them getting to the point to where they go out. But that's just a personal. That's just a subjective like or want for me that I don't think quite detracts from it. But they get together really early on, and then it's just spends the rest of the series kind of like finding reasons to keep going, to pad out the time until MC gets his memory back. And also just his love interest is a child, is an actual, not like literal, he's not actually going after children, but she behaves like a literal child. And
Well, that's no good.
it's so dang cringy. I feel like there are no words to put into just how much cringe is kind of contained in this show. Like, and that may just be because the show never really managed to get me hooked into it. And it just felt too bland for what it was. Like, they had characters doing making drastic changes, like maybe to their appearance or undergoing drastic changes, and it didn't feel like they had any weight behind them. It does a lot. It does the thing that I hate the one of the things I hate the most in anime whenever it tries to pull from the character development rule book in order to bait fans into feeling something for the characters, and I just could never. It just had too much of that, and also it had like, from my memory, it had a lot of like secondhand embarrassment, which is one of the things that absolutely grinds my gears. I hate it whenever anime pulls secondhand embarrassment. It just makes me uncomfortable to watch and takes me out of the viewing experience. But overall, also Golden Time just did not have a good opening and ending. It just felt too eh. The entire show just rubbed me the wrong way for all the time that I watched it, and it just I think if I sat down long enough I could think of a way to fix it and to make it more of an enjoyable viewing experience, but I seriously doubt that it would be worth my time. And I again, if you or anyone out there that's watching this, if any of y'all want to watch this, more power to you, and I'd love to hear, I mean, obviously, Randy, you and I will be talking about this next
Next time.
podcast. Yeah, next podcast.
Next time on Tangents.
Yeah, we'll be talking about this next time, but, I'd love to hear thoughts that people might have had on it, and maybe, and especially, not just if you loved it, but, or enjoyed the experience at the very least, but why you did. But,
Or why you didn't.
yeah,
See if you agree with us, disagree with us.
if you
And
think I'm
here,
spouting
I'll
nonsense,
spoil
I'd love to
something
know.
for you guys. See, I'll spoil something for you guys. Only on this first episode.
Spoil it.
Um, hit, and I, me being Randy, um, we kind of think the same, kind of.
Yeah, we're of the same mind in some situations. We do differ, but then again, that just
And
generates
actually,
funnier tangents to hop off on.
yeah, and the thought process is the same.
Although,
I'll put it that.
if I were to speak of giving Golden Time a recommendation, I think it's at that odd point to where it's not good enough that I would recommend watching it in any capacity, but it's not bad enough that I would want to recommend anyone watch it just to see how bad it is.
I see. So it's just kind of bland.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's quite bland, and it just feels like melodrama is so like if you or anyone out there eats up melodrama, then this will be a 3-course 5-star meal full of melodrama from beginning to end that you probably will be able to gorge yourself on. But personally, I'm okay with melodrama in certain capacities. It has to be the right time and the right place, but something like Golden Time to where that it uses it like a crutch and it's got 2 broken legs, it don't quite hold up. And
Yeah.
the only reason I would ever rewatch it is either I've forgotten about the experience, pun intended, or I was rewatching it to properly review it and just basically give a proper like rating and everything of just how bad it is. Like as it is, if I put it on my rating scale, I would say it's extremely less than optimal.
Not even you hate to see it.
Nah, because like it's too bland to be for me to hate so much of it. If I wanted to talk about you hate to see it experience, I'd go for Akame ga Kill, which is an absolutely abhorrent anime that I don't recommend anyone watch. Not even it, and I don't even recommend you watch it to see how bad it is because like it's bland. It's just so bad that I don't wish that experience on anyone. It has single-handedly one of the greatest first episodes and one of the absolute worst endings.
Well, so you see, the thing is, as soon as you said that, Aaron, I am I kind of cringe a little bit because that's a really, really unpopular opinion. Could you explain exactly why?
For Akame ga Kill, I didn't know that it was an unpopular opinion.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, lots of people love that anime. It's
oh,
because it's brutal.
um, well, a lot of my gripes with it come from I would have to talk about spoilers.
Go
But
ahead.
first and foremost, the thing that single-handedly gets my goat the most is just the fact that the title character is never really shown, or never really talked about, or never really does anything in the show. There's a character named Akame. Have you seen Akame ga Kill?
Um, I know that there's a character named Akame and Akame got killed, but yeah, I've never heard of Akame doing anything and Akame got killed.
Yeah, she does.
That
Akame
sounds
from
like a
Akame ga
supportable
Kill.
opinion.
Akame from Akame ga Kill does sweet FA until like the epilogue scene, pretty much. It's just it cashes in on a lot of cheap moments. And speaking of spoilers, if for some reason you or someone you know wants to watch this anime, then I please advise you to seek help. Uh, no, I'm kidding. Uh, Go ahead and watch it. It's a free country, free world. Do whatever you want. But spoilers ahead. We should just call this the spoiler cast at this point. But spoilers for Akame ga Kill. Everybody dies. I hate that. I hate that, and it's not even that everyone dying is the issue. It's the fact that everyone dies just to cash in on cheap feels. It's like like I would be able to know whenever a character was going to die because they actually had character for once, or they wanted to bang the MC. And it's like if that was like almost single-handedly the flag every single time a character was going to die. And it's like story-wise, I understand the need for them to die because like corrupt government, they're rebels or whatever. And there's going to be lost lives, but it's every single one of them. The second that they actually show a bit of character, that they step out of the mold just a little bit, it's like, okay, great, their death warrant has been signed. No trial, just death sentence. And it just all the way through to the end. Even the main character dies. And like in and of itself, I don't mind main characters dying so long as it's justified. But hardly any deaths in Akame ga Kill were justified. And it's like so many times it did the cheap thing of, oh, don't die, please, make it back safe. Akame says that at one point to the main character. I'm like, why'd you do it? Why'd you have to sign the main character's death warrant there? And it hurts. It's just pain. It's a painful experience to watch. There's a tig bitty goth GF called like Ease Death or something, and like there's a bit of like conflict there with the fact that she has it for you know the main character, and there's a bit of time where he gets kidnapped, and it's like that was like the only like sort of interesting time, but like back to the whole like first episode being the best one, it like does a really good job of just showing just how twisted things are because like if you care for the spoilers, he the main character gets separated from his friends. They're traveling to the capital to get help or whatever for their little tiny village. You know how it is. And he gets separated from them. The house that he stays the night at, uh, he does some digging, and he comes to find that he finds his friends all right, but he also finds them kind of mutilated and dead. Like a whole bunch of people in a barn at this house are mutilated and dead. The people like take in travelers, and it's just so twisted and just jarring that like that one episode. There's more to it, and he meets like the main gang of rebels who take him in, but there's so much in that episode that's just like a mix of emotions, and it's such a good hook to the series. But then it just falls flat on its face the rest of it. And it's just at a point it becomes painful to watch because the first episode set such a good like a high bar. And I will say part of the shortcomings of the show are in relation to the fact that what the manga was still being written and the studio just decided to finish it themselves. So I personally don't know how the manga ends, and I cannot attest to its quality. But as far as the anime goes, I was just sorely disappointed, and like I just I can't help but like flounder whenever I think of it because it had potential, and that's like it had potential, but it failed to follow through, and that's like the most type of it's the most painful, I think, or one of the most painful anime experiences there are, is whenever you come across a series that has a good premise, has potential, and fall short of that.
That's kind of similar to Sword Art. It's just because lots of aspects of it, like it doesn't actually show combat that often,
Hmm.
so it doesn't really feel like they're ever in danger. Um, and there are unnecessary arcs just to fill out the 12 episodes or the book as the original was.
Mm-hmm.
It's a light novel. It started as a light novel. Fucking Reki Kawahara, fuck you. Um,
Oh,
I actually fucking remembered his name
very
because I
nice.
remembered that it's a light novel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it the light novel just kind of has scenes in it to fill itself out.
Yeah.
No, wait, never mind. It's extra books.
Oh, that's
Well,
unfortunate.
it's one extra book with all the extra stuff in it. But the main story is one book, and all the other shit that doesn't really matter that much is another book. But then the anime includes it all and doesn't mark it as anything. It's just the episode.
It's just status quo, basically, just continuing on more stuff, basically.
Yes, yes, it's so bad.
Mm. But yeah. Also, there's like a character in Akane ga Kill. They have like a really tragic backstory and everything, but like it like does the whole person is like a living weapon thing, and like some of the weapons that like the person has, they're integrated into her body, and I laughed. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed just because it's so stupidly absurd, and it just it gets me.
Does she have titty guns? Does she have titty
No,
guns?
and I'd almost prefer it. She literally has a gun in her mouth. Like, it just go gadget gun from the tongue or whatever, and it never explains how or why. And like she has such a massive just will of hatred for anyone that dares like stand against like what she believes is good or whatever. And I understand having a character that is set in their ways, who is steeped in their morals, in their line of justice, but she takes it to such a stupid, dumb, awful level that it's painful to watch. And I hate phrasing something as stupid or dumb, because I feel like that like lessens my credit as a critic of a media. But Akame ga Kill just has so many moments that I'm like, that's stupid. It's just like I scarcely say this, but it's just a lot of the writing in Akame ga Kill is objectively stupid. Like, and
I see.
I there's a part of me that wants to rewatch it just to see if maybe my stance on it has changed over time. If maybe I can at least, if I can maybe find, at the very least, if I can find some more justification for my vehement dislike of it. Because
You
I can't remember
know,
when I watched it.
I feel the same way about Full Metal Alchemist in terms of it didn't live up to its potential.
Oh, I love
But
Full
that's
Metal
but that's
Alchemist.
because well, I like Brotherhood
Oh
because
yeah,
it
Brotherhood was good.
it
I never watched the
yeah it
2003.
followed the manga. It was able to follow the manga,
Mm-hmm.
but the 2003 version it just stops. It stops.
Yeah, I heard that.
It stops. It stops. It stops.
It stops. It
Why did it
stops.
have to stop?
Uh,
It stops. Why did it have to stop?
I.
Yes, I know why it had to stop because they found out. Oh, hey, the manga's updating. Yeah. It what happened though was it did the backstory so much better.
What
Oh my god!
Full Metal Alchemist
Rather
did, or
than just
Brotherhood? 2003 or Brotherhood,
just
I mean.
FMA, just 2003.
Oh, okay.
It see the thing is, um, when I say that it does it so much better, I fucking mean it. Where the hell's my mouse? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It just doesn't make me want to beat the bones out of the intro episodes. They don't want to make me beat the bones out of the
Priest
what
man,
do you call
the
the
priest boy.
creator. No, no, no. The studio.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just so much better. I've read the manga. I've seen Brotherhood, and I've also seen 2003. And the one I would have liked to see continue would have been 2003 because they
Hmm.
changed enough shit to make it better, but they didn't change too much shit to make it not Full Metal Alchemist.
I gotcha. What you call it? I read the fun fact. I read the manga for Full Metal Alchemist, and that was the first manga that I ever read from start to finish, or even like laid hands on.
Nice.
Yeah, the story behind that is my older brother. He was dating this girl who was really into anime, and she got him into Attack on Titan, and they like went to the library or something like that, and she apparently picked out Full Metal Alchemist for me because she figured I'd like it, and I was a bit confused because I'm like, book wrong, it opposite, uh, and I thought that was funny. But once I legitimately started reading it, I was like hooked, you know. And although I didn't really keep up with manga until like year before last or last year or something along those lines, really started getting into manga again. I mean, it was a solid experience from what I remember, and it just has stuck with me. And I personally I watched Brotherhood and I really enjoyed it, and I've been thinking about going back through and rewatching or watching through 2003, at least what content there is. Because I've heard that it's just, it's its own experience and it deserves to be watched. That not necessarily
Oh yeah,
deserves to
for
be
sure.
watched in the capacity of being a faithful adaptation, easy for me to say, but it deserves to be watched as its own as its own story, as its own, experience.
Yeah, of course. Um, I don't really have much more to say on that,
Yeah.
and I'm the one who brought it up.
Now you're good.
I,
I figure we could probably
I just
tie off this little conversational little bit by saying that who knows, maybe you and I can set up like a viewing party and you and I just go through and we watch 2003 together. Come back to the podcast and offer our thoughts on that experience.
yeah. Shit. We should have saved all this conversation of anime disappointments for the you posted cringe section.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't think we were having our own. I didn't think we were going to segment this into like a specific cringe zone. Welcome to the.
Yeah, I know. It's a joke.
It's a funny. Well, sir, what's
Yes, it's the funny.
since we've been recording for almost 2 hours, sir? Where's where? Hold on a minute. Welcome back to Salsa Loss with Dutch Vanderland. Arthur,
I believe.
show us your hentai.
All right, Dutch. Let's see what I can pull out.
All right, Chick Show. Actually, I don't know if we're talking about the cringe section. If we're going to make that a thing, we could call it cringe or binge. Hold on a moment.
Creature bitch. Welcome to welcome to Keck Cringe with the Mandolin Gang. Arthur, show us your mates. All right, Dutch. I hope this one's the funny. What are you doing? You muted yourself. Where are you?
Forgive me about that. Okay, which one of us is going to post cringe? I think it's time to wrap up.
Yeah, although we could round out to about 2 hours.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of have to go. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to go while we're in the middle of making a podcast.
A bit,
You
yes.
fucking posted cringe,
I did.
and I can't kick you. Yes, you posted cringe,
Alrighty. I'll.
and with that, we have to say goodbye.
Alright.
Apparently,
Goodbye and
um,
good night, folks.
thanks for watching.
Alright.
We'll see you. I don't know, next week or some shit like that. Red button.